Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Am is a PC RPG that was released in the year 2000 in North America by developer BioWare. BioWare you may know as the developer of games like Dragon Age, Mass Effect, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and there's also a few other games that they have worked on like Neverwinter Nights. Now, Baldur's Gate 2 is considered by a lot of people to be the best game that BioWare has ever made, and it is considered to be one of the best PC role-playing games ever made. Recently, I beat Baldur's Gate 2 on stream in a playthrough, and you'll see that the background footage for this review is from my stream playthrough of the game. I include my stream playthrough footage in the review so that way you, the viewer, can see that I have played through and finished a game prior to reviewing the game. Let's start off by talking about what Baldur's Gate 2 is all about. So Baldur's Gate 2 is a PC role-playing game, and it is a game where you basically start out, you make your own character, and then the game begins right after that. So when Baldur's Gate 2 begins, you basically choose your class for your character. So that's one of the really good things about this game is the incredible character customization. There's so many different classes to choose from, and for each class that you choose, there's different subclasses that you can choose. For example, I could choose a sorcerer, or I could choose a subclass, a dragon disciple subclass for the sorcerer, which has different pros and cons to that character class and plays differently. Not only that, but in Baldur's Gate 2, you can also do dual classing. So you could have a character that is a mage and a thief, dual class, and basically they get some mage abilities, and then they also get some thief abilities as well. After you finish making your character, the game then begins. At the start of Baldur's Gate 2, you are imprisoned within a cage in this mage's hideout. The mage comes up to you and begins performing experiments on you, and while in the middle of performing these experiments on you, his hideout becomes under attack. He leaves to go deal with the intruders who have broken into his hideout, and while he's distracted, your ally Emmeline, a returning character from the first Baldur's Gate game, comes up to you and frees you from the cage that you're imprisoned in. After that, you then work together to escape from the mage's lair. So that's just a little bit about how Baldur's Gate 2 begins, and then now we're going to talk about what the game is like and what the game structure of the game is. Baldur's Gate 2, in terms of how the game is, in terms of the game structure, is a little bit different from Baldur's Gate 1. So I would say that Baldur's Gate 2 is a lot more story-focused than Baldur's Gate 1. And while in Baldur's Gate 1 you had the wilderness areas you could go out to and explore around in Baldur's Gate 2, the story is a lot more linear, and you kind of go from one area to another, going from one chapter of the game, completing it, and then going on to the next chapter of the game, which usually brings you to a new area. The game is a lot more linear than Baldur's Gate 1. There's not a lot of wandering around the wilderness areas like there was in the first Baldur's Gate. So that's kind of how the game is structured. Now we're going to start talking about the gameplay of Baldur's Gate 2. Like I mentioned, Baldur's Gate 2 is a RPG game. So basically, outside of battle, you'll explore around with your characters, you'll talk to different people, and usually in the game, you're given objectives of where to go and stuff to do. In Baldur's Gate 2, you can have a party of up to 6 characters to battle with. You'll have your first character that you can start the game with, and you can play through the entire game with them solo if you're good enough, or alternatively, you can recruit companions who will join you, and each companion is a different character class, has a different alignment, and different views on different things in the game. And basically, as you explore different areas, you'll run into enemies and a battle will begin. Baldur's Gate 2 has a real-time combat system. Now, during battle, if you don't give any commands out to your characters, they will begin auto-attacking an enemy. At any point during battle, you can press the spacebar button on the keyboard to pause the combat and give out commands to characters. You can have them move, you can have them target and attack an enemy, or cast a certain spell or use an item in battle. And the combat is very engaging in this game because it really forces you to think. You have to think about how to defeat the enemy. You have to strategize and plan out the battles very well. Now, upon defeating an enemy, you will be awarded EXP. Defeat all enemies and then the battle is over. Once the battle is over, you can rest and basically recover your character's health and basically make it so that they regain their spell cast, because each spell in combat has a certain amount of times it can be casted before you have to rest to restore the spell cast for that spell. One thing I can say that Baldur's Gate 2 does very well is the side quests in the game. The side quests in Baldur's Gate 2 are some of the best I've seen in an RPG game. They're very interesting, there's a lot of story to them, and the side quests have branching paths. So you can make one decision and it completely changes how the story in that side quest ends up happening. Depending on the choices you make, it also affects the gameplay. For example, during a side quest, you might fight a different group of enemies. You might align yourself with a different group of people. You might have a different area that you have to go to depending on the choices that you make. In a lot of modern video games and RPGs, nowadays the side quests are very uninspired, very boring, very repetitive. They're these generic fetch quests with almost no depth, no substance, or anything of value to them. It's basically like go to this area, kill 5 of these enemies, and then go back and report to the person who gave you the quest. And here we have a game that released in the year 2000, and it has way better side quests that develop the characters, add more to the world of the game, that feel more creative, that feel more inspired. It's got better side quests than modern video games with millions and millions of dollars in their budget. Now, next up, I want to start covering the leveling system in the game and character growth. So, leveling in Baldur's Gate 2 is done like a traditional RPG. You get EXP from winning battles or completing side quests, and then basically you click to level up the character. Then that character levels up, their stats go up, and they also gain access to more powerful abilities. So that about covers it for the gameplay of Baldur's Gate 2. Alright, next up, let's start talking about the story of Baldur's Gate 2. The story of Baldur's Gate 2 is very well done. The writing in this game is some of the best writing I have seen in an RPG game. And the characters are very likable in this game, and they are very well developed. Almost every character in this game that joins you has a character quest that you can do that develops them further and helps you learn more about that character. And the character backstories are really, really good in this game. The main antagonist of Baldur's Gate 2, John Irenicus, is one of the best RPG antagonists I have ever seen in a video game. This character is absolutely awesome. There's a lot of crazy scenes with this character in this game. And I know this is a very overused word on the internet, and I acknowledge that. But a lot of the scenes with Irenicus, the main antagonist, are epic. He's a very crazy character. It's really interesting as you learn more about his backstory. You as the protagonist go on a journey to try and stop Irenicus from the evil things that he's trying to do. So now that we've talked about the gameplay and the story of Baldur's Gate 2 and what the game is about, I want to talk about some of the flaws that I feel this game has. The first flaw I feel like I should talk about with Baldur's Gate 2 is the learning curve of the game. RPGs are my favorite genre, and I've been in a lot of them, and some of them I would say were pretty hard. And even despite that, going into this game, playing through it on the normal difficulty, there was a very big learning curve. There was a lot of things I had to learn about the game, and I feel like the learning curve is going to be a very big obstacle for new people to this game trying to get into the game. You're going to have a tremendous amount of patience to really learn the game. The game just kind of throws you right into the game. There's no tutorials for any gameplay mechanics, and you really just got to figure it out through trial and error, or reading about it on the internet, or consulting like the 200-page instruction manual for the game. My second flaw with the game is that when you beat the first chapter, you move on to the second chapter, And basically you're in the city of Afkawa. You basically have an objective of that part of the game for Chapter 2, where you got to get 20,000 gold to move on to Chapter 3. You got to do side quests to get enough gold to be able to move to Chapter 3. And because of that, you got to do the side quest, but you really don't know how difficult each side quest that you run into is. And so you got to spend a lot of time through trial and error, going and trying the side quests, seeing which ones are easy or which ones you should wait until you get a lot more powerful to do. And the game doesn't really give you any indicator of how hard the side quests are. Because as soon as you get to Chapter 2 of the game, and there's like 20 to 30 different side quests, so I think there's way too many directions you can go in at the beginning of the game, and it can make the beginning of the game very intimidating for a new player, because they're really not sure which side quest to do or where they should go at the beginning of the game, and it makes the beginning of the game kind of beginner unfriendly. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is going to be the graphics and the music. The graphics in Baldur's Gate 2 haven't aged too well, but me personally, I'm not really a graphics guy. You know, I could care less if the graphics aren't that great. If the gameplay and story is good in the game, then I'm all good. Now, the final thing to talk about is the music and the voice acting. The voice acting in this game, considering it was released in 2000, is amazing. It holds up very well to this day. The voice actors did a great job with their characters. They did a very good job, and the voice acting is very ahead of its time. Then there's the music. The music in the game is quite good. I really like some of the battle themes in the game. Some of the area themes were pretty good as well. Overall, the voice acting is really good in the game, and the music is pretty good in the game as well. My overall thoughts on Baldur's Gate 2 is that it is a great RPG game, but it has a very brutal learning curve. If you can overcome the learning curve of the game, you will enjoy a really great RPG game, but you do have to have the patience to really learn the mechanics of the game and how to play the game well. And as always, I want to say thank you so much for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I really greatly appreciate it. That way you can catch up on more RPG review videos and also watch other RPG videos I put out on the channel as well. Also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Shockstorm. Thank you all so much. Everybody have a good one, and I will see you all in the next video.